Hey everyone, today we're diving into something a bit unusual, how to complain in English.
Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Complaining? Really? Isn't that like a bad thing? But let's be real. It's part of life.
Exactly. Like, imagine getting bad service at a store and just saying nothing. Or eating cold food at a restaurant but staying quiet because you don't want to cause trouble. It happens, right?
Oh, totally. And I think for English learners, it's even harder. You start worrying about stuff like, what if I use the wrong words? Or, will they even understand my accent?
Or you second guess yourself. Like, maybe this is just how it is here. Or, I don't want to sound rude. So you just let it go. But then you're stuck dealing with the problem, and it wasn't even your fault.
And today, we're not saying you should complain all the time. But learning how to do it right is such an important skill, especially in English.
Yeah, we're going to share why complaining matters and teach you how to do it in a way that's polite but effective. Sound good?
Let's get started.
Complaints matter. So let's talk about why complaining actually matters. I mean, most of us grew up being told not to complain, right? Be polite, don't make a fuss, that kind of thing.
Yeah, but sometimes being too polite can backfire, like when the hairdresser cuts your hair way too short and you just smile and say, "Oh, it's fine." But inside, you're like, "What just happened?"
Or when a taxi driver takes the scenic route, aka the longer route, and you just sit there thinking, uh, do I say something? But you don't.
Oh, I've got a good one. And my friend had this happen at a hotel once. She once booked this amazing hotel room online. But when she got there, it was tiny and totally not what she paid for. Guess what she did? She just stayed there and didn't say a word. Can you believe that?
Oh no, that's the thing. Complaining doesn't have to be this big dramatic thing. It's often the first step to actually fixing a problem, like returning a broken product or getting the service you deserve. It's the first step to making things better.
And it's not just about solving problems. It's about releasing all that bottled up frustration. If you complain calmly, it can be such a relief, almost like venting to a friend, but in a more constructive way.
Right. Plus, learning to complain teaches you how to communicate better. You learn to be clear and diplomatic, which is a great skill for life, work, relationships, everything.
Speaking of relationships, complaining can even make them stronger. Like, think about it. When you share your frustrations with friends, it builds connection. You're being honest, and they get to support you.
That's so true. It's like, wow, you get me. So the point is, complaining isn't all bad. It's about how you do it. It's actually super helpful. How to complain politely. Now let's dive into how to complain. The first one is polite complaints. You know, the kind where you stay calm and keep things friendly. It's perfect when you don't want to upset the other person, but still need to address an issue.
Right, and using softeners can make a huge difference. For example, instead of saying, "This is wrong," you can say, "I think there might have been a mistake." It's less confrontational, but still gets the point across.
Yep. Let's think of some situations. Like at a restaurant, if your food is cold or the wrong dish comes out, how would you politely say something?
Oh, you could say, "Excuse me, I'm sorry to bother you, but my food seems a bit cold. Would it be possible to reheat it?" See how gentle that sounds?
That's a great example. Or in a store, if you buy something and find out it's damaged, instead of accusing them, you can say, I think this item might be defective. Could you help me exchange it? People are more likely to help when you stay polite.
Totally. And with customer service, like if your delivery is late, you could say, "I'm afraid my package hasn't arrived yet. Could you please check on it for me?" Notice the use of "I'm afraid" and "please." It softens the complaint.
Another tip is to start with a small apology or acknowledgement like, I'm sorry, but, or excuse me, I think. It sets a friendly tone from the beginning.
Oh, and don't forget softeners like "it seems," "I think," or would it be possible to? They're magic words for polite complaints. For instance, I think there was an error on my bill. Could you double check it for me?
Yeah, and after you've addressed the issue, it's always a good idea to express appreciation, like, thanks for looking into this, or I really appreciate your help. It leaves a positive impression.
Here's another scenario. Let's say your internet stops working. Instead of saying, "Why isn't my internet working?" you could say, "I'm afraid my internet seems to be down. Could you please check it out?" See how much softer that sounds?
And don't forget to keep your tone calm and friendly. Even if you're frustrated, staying composed helps the other person stay cooperative.
So, in short, being polite and using softeners doesn't mean you're being weak. It actually shows confidence and control. Plus, it gets results without unnecessary tension.
Being assertive but not being aggressive. All right, Luna. You know there are times when things aren't that simple, right? That's why we got to talk about being assertive without crossing the line into being aggressive. Being assertive means you stand up for yourself or your needs in a clear, confident way, but without being rude or aggressive. It's like finding the balance between being too passive and being too pushy. This is a skill that's super important when the issue is serious or hasn't been fixed yet.
Definitely. Being assertive means standing your ground while still being respectful. Like, you're clear, direct, and firm, but you're not rude or emotional.
Exactly. Think of situations where this is necessary, like a hotel room that's noisy or unclean. How would you handle that assertively?
You could say, "The room is not as described online. I need to be moved to a quieter one tonight." Notice how it's clear and direct, but still polite.
That's a good example. Or let's say you've been waiting on a refund and nothing has happened. You might say, I'd like to speak to a manager about this. I was promised a refund, but it hasn't been processed yet. It shows you're serious without being confrontational.
Right. Another scenario could be a persistent issue, like noisy neighbors. You could say, "I've been patient, but this is the third time I've reported this issue. It needs to be resolved immediately." You're pointing out the problem clearly while staying professional.
And here's an important tip. Focus on the solution you want. Instead of just complaining, say what needs to happen, like, I'd like this resolved by the end of the day. It shows you mean business.
That's key. And remember, avoid using emotional words like ridiculous or unacceptable. Stick to the facts. For example, if a delivery is late, you can say, "I paid for express shipping and the package hasn't arrived. I'd like a refund for the delivery cost."
Exactly. It's about being polite but firm. Like, you're not apologizing for raising the issue, but you're also not being aggressive. Balance is everything.
And let's not forget tone. A calm, steady tone makes you sound confident. If you get too emotional, it can weaken your argument or make the other person defensive.
So, being assertive is all about expressing your needs clearly, staying calm, and focusing on solutions. It's a powerful way to handle serious issues without unnecessary drama.
And the best part? It often leads to better results because you're showing that you're serious and reasonable.
So, to wrap up today's episode, we talked about how complaining, when done right, can actually help you solve problems. It's not just about venting, it's a way to get things fixed, whether it's poor service or a broken product.
Complaining can also help release some of those negative emotions that build up when things go wrong. And, as we discussed, it's a skill that can improve your communication too.
Right. We also covered how to complain politely, using softeners like, I think, or could you, to avoid confrontation and keep things calm.
And if the situation is serious, being assertive is key. It's about being clear and firm, without being rude or emotional. Just focus on the issue, not the person.
So, the key takeaway is complaining can actually be a powerful tool when done properly. It helps solve problems, reduce stress, and strengthen your communication skills.
We hope this episode gives you more confidence to speak up in English when you need to. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.